The courtroom doors slammed open, echoing like thunder. Every eye in the gallery snapped toward the entrance. Tamar Braxton walked in, her heels clicking, a file clutched tightly in her hands. The file wasn't just paper, it was a weight, heavy with implications. Murmurs rippled through the room. Cameras pivoted instantly. Phones lifted. Everyone sensed something monumental was unfolding. A clerk's voice cut through the tension. Legal papers had officially been filed. Mendeecees was named. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Gasps and whispers collided. This wasn't just a legal filing. It was a spectacle. Phones recorded each step. Every flash seemed to mark a heartbeat. Rumors long simmering erupted into headlines before anyone could process the moment. People shifted in their seats. Lawyers adjusted ties nervously. Someone began to sob quietly in the back, Yandy. She slipped out for a moment, then returned, eyes red, face pale. The papers were divorce documents. The word landed like a punch. Questions cut through the hush. Why now? Why so public? Curiosity and shock blended. Friends texted frantically. Allies posted online. Within minutes, clips from the courtroom began trending. Every gesture, every glance was scrutinized. Tamar's calm exterior belied the storm she carried inside. Mendeecees' absence of expression was equally telling. And in that charged space, secrets seemed to swell, pressing against the walls. It was clear this was more than a split. Betrayal, missteps, and the unraveling of a public friendship hovered over the room. The file in her hands was not just pages. It was a statement, a promise of revelation. From whispers in the corners to the loud flashes of the press, the world outside started piecing together what had been hidden. The gallery's tension mirrored the outside frenzy. One woman's heartbreak had instantly transformed into a story that demanded attention. And as the first murmurs escalated into questions, the story set the stage. Every next move would count. The world was watching. And Tamar, file in hand, was ready. The file was more than a folder of papers. Inside were dates, statements, and claims that could reshape narratives. Everyone wanted a peek. Fans, insiders, journalists, all eager for context. The room that had felt so small now seemed suffocating. Each page promised revelations, conversations, photographs, timelines, evidence that could challenge loyalties and assumptions. Social media exploded instantly. Clips of Tamar entering the courtroom went viral. Screenshots of the sobbing Yandy circulated. Comments flooded in. Speculation, shock, judgment. The first wave of trends didn't wait for confirmation. Everyone formed an opinion before the facts fully emerged. Rumors metastasized into conversations about loyalty, betrayal, and hidden motives. Every post was dissected, every detail re-examined. Fans who had assumed they understood the story began questioning everything. Support shifted. Hesitation crept in. The file was the catalyst. What had begun as quiet tension now demanded attention. Online detectives tracked timestamps, cross-referenced posts, and debated authenticity. Every small gesture, smile, glance, or post became evidence. This was the moment when whispers became headlines, when private pain collided with public scrutiny. The file promised more than shock. It promised clarity. And in the digital age, clarity spread like wildfire. The first reactions weren't just emotional, they were strategic. People began forming camps. Analysts and influencers commented in real time. Every share, like, and repost amplified the drama. The courtroom had delivered a single, undeniable truth. The story was no longer private. And the next moves, Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, would determine the narrative. One file, in one woman's hands, had set the stage for a drama that would ripple across screens. Headlines and hearts everywhere. Before the courtroom, before files and leaks, there were smiles, flashes, and red carpet appearances. Tamar Braxton and Yandy Smith were inseparable in public. Laughter echoed in interviews. Collaborations were celebrated. Their friendship seemed flawless, a partnership built on trust and admiration. Fans saw unity, loyalty, and joy. Behind the scenes, however, the picture was far more complicated. Mendeecees, Yandy's longtime partner, had long been painted as a reformed man. Loyal father, Disciplined husband. A man who had weathered storms and emerged clean. His redemption arc was admired publicly. Tamar, seemingly impressed, initially welcomed his advice. Their early exchanges were professional, rooted in music ventures and business opportunities. Mendeecees offered guidance, linking Tamar with investment circles and reality TV opportunities. The friendship between Yandy and Tamar made the connection appear harmless, yet small signs began to whisper caution. Texts extended beyond professional boundaries. Meetings, once casual, grew private. Insiders noticed the subtle shift. A producer confided, "There's tension in that trio, but no one expected Tamar to move first." Tamar's bold honesty had long been her signature, yet when the legal papers appeared, it stunned everyone. It wasn't impulsive. Friends claimed she had tried to manage everything quietly. But the private interactions were now opening doors for speculation. Even small gestures began to carry weight. Familiarity in tone, messages hinting at trust and understanding. The industry noticed. What started as innocent mentorship blurred into emotional complexity. Observers debated whether these were genuine bonds or the start of something deeper. The stakes were rising, but no public hint betrayed the brewing storm. Publicly, smiles remained. Red carpet appearances, interviews, and collaborations continued. Privately, however, the cracks were forming. Friendships that seemed ironclad were now delicate, ready to fracture. The first pages of tension were written in text messages and secret meetings. The subtleties only insiders could detect. And just like that, what began as professional support was quietly morphing into something far more tangled, an undercurrent that would soon surge into full-blown chaos. Texts grew longer. Meetings became private. Whispers turned into speculation. Industry insiders hinted at emotional entanglements long before the public knew. Casual messages evolved into late-night confessions, seemingly innocent exchanges that, in hindsight, revealed more than anyone expected. "You always understand me," one text read. Another whispered, "Wish things were different." Nothing overt, yet context mattered, and context was shifting fast. Insiders began noticing patterns. Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees, once a tight trio, now had interactions that raised questions. Meetings intended for business strategy started extending into personal territory. Conversations became intimate in tone. Phone calls were private, timing odd, coinciding with moments when Yandy was unaware. Industry blogs hinted at tension. "Something's off," one producer told a gossip column. The receipts, small at first, began to surface. Screenshots, timestamps, cryptic messages. Fans wouldn't see them yet, but insiders did. Every interaction was scrutinized. Each private meeting, each lingering message added fuel to a silent fire. Tamar, known for transparency, appeared careful. Mendeecees, quiet and disciplined, remained an enigma. And Yandy, trusting and loyal, remained oblivious, at least publicly. Yet the underlying story was clear to those paying attention. Power dynamics were shifting. Emotional lines were blurring. Loyalty, trust, and control danced dangerously close together. The tension wasn't a simple triangle. It was a triangle infused with hidden motives, unspoken feelings, and professional stakes. As these private interactions multiplied, the eventual public fallout seemed inevitable. What started as trust quietly morphed into suspicion. Every meeting, every text, would later be dissected, becoming evidence for fans, media, and even lawyers. The stage was set. A storm was brewing, and no one could stop the ripple that would reach far beyond whispered warnings. The private tensions of this trio were no longer just background noise. They were the seeds of a drama that would erupt publicly, testing relationships, reputations, and loyalty in ways no one could have predicted. The night was supposed to be glamorous. A charity gala in Atlanta, filled with cameras, influencers, and music executives. Glittering lights bounced off crystal chandeliers. Tamar Braxton arrived first, radiant in a gold gown that shimmered with every step. She smiled, waved, posed for photos, but beneath her calm exterior, tension simmered. Minutes later, Yandy and Mendeecees appeared, dressed in coordinated black. Their entrance was precise, polished, perfect for the cameras. On the surface, unity reigned. Smiles were exchanged. Laughter was recorded. Yet something subtle shifted. Tamar avoided eye contact. Mendeecees stayed close to Yandy, but his attention seemed fractured, constantly checking his phone. The energy was tense, invisible to casual observers, but palpable to anyone paying attention. Then it happened. A photographer captured a single moment, a brief, fleeting frame that would ignite speculation. Mendeecees leaned toward Tamar, whispering something as Yandy looked away. It lasted mere seconds. Yet once it hit social media, it exploded. Fans scrutinized the image. Every angle, every shadow became evidence. Within hours, someone noticed a shocking detail. The necklace Mendeecees wore in the gala photo had appeared in a different selfie Tamar posted days earlier. Coincidence? Maybe. But timing matters in a story like this. Gossip blogs lit up. Screenshots of old messages between Tamar and Mendeecees surfaced, friendly at first, increasingly intimate over time. One read, "You always understand me." Another simply said, "Wish things were different." Neither side confirmed authenticity, but the silence spoke volumes. The gala had been the spark, the single moment that ignited a wildfire of speculation. It wasn't just about a look, a whisper, or a necklace. It was about trust, boundaries, and perception. The photo became the first domino in a cascade that would soon engulf social media, fans, and the press. As the night ended and the gala lights dimmed, the implications were clear. Private interactions had leaked into public consciousness. That fleeting moment, frozen in time, marked the beginning of a drama that no one could contain. Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees. The trio's delicate balance had shifted forever. The morning after, the digital storm erupted. Yandy went live. Her voice trembled. Eyes red from tears, she said, "I don't know what to believe anymore." Comments poured in, some urging her to leave, others accusing Tamar of betrayal. The foundation of trust had cracked in real time. Meanwhile, Tamar deactivated her Instagram. Hours later, she returned with a cryptic post. "Sometimes truth breaks before it heals." Fans were divided. Some called it strength. Others read it as confession. The trio's silence, or partial silence, allowed speculation to explode unchecked. Social feeds became battlefields. Hashtags trended. Clips were stitched and restitching by TikTok detectives. Analysts dissected tone, body language, even the timestamps on old posts. Every lyric in Tamar's latest song was examined for hidden meaning. Influencers, gossip channels, and entertainment pages amplified the chaos. Screenshots circulated. Half-verified sources fueled rumors, and anonymous insiders whispered in comment sections. Mendeecees stayed silent. One Instagram story of him working out captioned, "Focus," only fueled further speculation. Fans interpreted it as defiance, dismissal, or guilt. The silence spoke louder than words. Yandy's supporters unfollowed Tamar. Old collaborations disappeared from playlists. Even Bravo personalities tweeted cryptic remarks. Some folks aren't who they pretend to be. Tamar's mentions flooded with anger, sympathy, and confusion. Every rumor became a potential piece of evidence. Every post a clue in a story that had gone public faster than anyone could control. The social media frenzy wasn't just about betrayal or gossip. It was about narrative power. Fans chose sides before facts were verified. Podcast hosts debated motives. Morning shows questioned loyalty and transparency. The event that began with a single photograph had evolved into a full-scale digital spectacle. Every action, every post, every glance became part of a narrative war. Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees found themselves living under an unrelenting microscope. Private pain collided with public opinion, and the fallout would set the stage for revelations, receipts, and legal moves yet to come. The digital frenzy was only beginning. The gala photo had lit the fuse, and the reactions, live streams, cryptic posts, and fan warfare were the explosion. And while the world watched, the next moves by each player would shape not just the story, but the legacy of trust, betrayal, and power in this high-stakes triangle. The next wave hit like a storm. Screenshots began circulating in private group chats. Blurry at first, then crystal clear. Messages between Tamar and Mendeecees hinted at late-night calls, intimate confessions, and financial exchanges. One line stood out: "I just need peace, and you're the only one who gets it." Time-stamped 3 weeks before Yandy's anniversary post, the detail didn't escape fans. Then came the audio clip. Grainy, muffled but unmistakable. A voice resembling Mendeecees said, "I told her not to find out this way." Even without perfect clarity, it was enough to ignite outrage. The public now had sound, proof of conversations once hidden. Yandy's silence ended that night. She went live, voice shaking, eyes red. "You all think you know, but you don't. I found out like everybody else, through the blogs." The pain was raw, unfiltered, impossible to ignore. But the biggest bombshell arrived next. A file titled ContractOurTruth.pdf was leaked. Alleged agreements detailed joint business deals between Tamar's management and Mendeecees. Yandy claimed she had no knowledge. Fans, bloggers, and YouTubers froze the image, zoomed in, analyzed metadata, and began connecting the dots. The receipts weren't just emotional, they were tangible. Proof of decisions, agreements, and alleged deception. Screenshots of old conversations resurfaced. Familiar, casual, intimate. Evidence that seemed to thread a narrative of manipulation, control, and betrayal. The digital world dissected every line, every timestamp. Podcast hosts paused scripts to discuss authenticity. Comment sections erupted. Debate raged. Who had been wronged first? Who was manipulating whom? The scandal had shifted. No longer whispers. No longer mere speculation. It was evidence. Screenshots, audio, and a PDF had transformed an emotional story into something tangible. The triangle, Tamar, Yandy, Mendeecees, was now under a microscope. Every interaction quantified, every action analyzed. Fans weren't just witnessing drama. They were witnesses to what appeared to be proof. And as the receipts spread, public opinion began to shift. Allegiances wavered. Sympathy fractured. The next moves would not just define relationships, they would define reputations. The narrative shifted overnight. Sympathies that had poured toward Yandy began to fracture. Tamar's cryptic messages, paired with the receipts, made fans pause. Could she have been the one betrayed first? The story flipped in real time. Blogs that once labeled Tamar the villain questioned Mendeecees' truthfulness. Old interviews resurfaced, revealing inconsistencies in his accounts of loyalty, finances, and business involvement. Legal teams mobilized. Tamar's lawyers prepared filings. Mendeecees' camp responded defensively, emphasizing innocence, but their statements felt measured, almost cautious. PR strategies emerged like a chessboard. Tamar embraced transparency. Podcasts and interviews were carefully timed. Every post was scrutinized. Every public gesture calculated. Yandy tried to maintain professionalism, posting motivational content and reinforcing resilience. Yet the comments betrayed the storm beneath. Fans debated authenticity, questioned motives, and picked sides. Social media had become a battlefield, with Tamar, Yandy, and Mendeecees each representing different fronts. Behind the scenes, industry players watched closely. Reality TV producers considered rewrites. Networks debated cutting scenes, leveraging tension, or distancing from the story entirely. Sponsorships paused. Influencers adjusted strategies. The entertainment ecosystem had to react, fast. What began as private heartbreak had now become public strategy. Each disclosure altered perception. Each leak shifted alliances. Tamar's approach, strategic, unapologetic, and transparent, set the tone. Mendeecees' silence and measured responses contrasted sharply. Yandy's tearful honesty maintained empathy but left room for doubt. The story was no longer just about personal betrayal. It had evolved into a battle of narratives, reputation, and accountability. Every public and private move mattered, and the world was watching. The stage was set for the next act: courtroom revelations, financial disclosures, and the emotional reckoning that would follow. The next twist emerged quietly but hit hard. A leaked email thread surfaced, allegedly between Tamar's attorney and Yandy's business partner. The subject line read, "Unauthorized transfer, immediate action required." Attention zeroed in. The emails revealed that funds Tamar had contributed to a joint reality project were quietly redirected. What had appeared as personal drama suddenly carried a six-figure financial weight. Months earlier, Tamar had trusted Mendeecees to manage the project logistics. Her contributions were substantial. Yet when the venture failed to materialize, her money had been redirected, without her knowledge or consent. The narrative, once framed around emotional betrayal, now revealed another layer: financial deception. The revelation reframed the story entirely. Fans who had assumed jealousy or infidelity as the driving force now reconsidered the true motive. Tamar's lawsuit was no longer just about heartbreak or betrayal. It was about accountability. Legal filings confirmed the redirection of funds. No criminal intent was proven, but the financial evidence made the stakes clear. Trust had been compromised, not just emotionally, but economically. Yandy's reaction was immediate and raw. In a tearful live video, she admitted, "If this is true, I was deceived too. I never saw those transfers. I would never steal from someone I love." Her voice cracked on the word love, revealing vulnerability and confusion. Fans began to understand. The scandal wasn't just a love triangle. It was a complex web of relationships, money, and trust. The financial revelation changed everything. Suddenly, Tamar's decision to file suit looked like justice. Her actions were no longer reactive. They were a deliberate pursuit of accountability. The public, once divided, now had to reconsider loyalties and assumptions. The courtroom became the stage for resolution. Tamar arrived first, dressed in black, her expression calm but unreadable. Minutes later, Yandy entered, eyes swollen yet steady. Mendeecees followed, flanked by attorneys, jaw clenched, pacing deliberately. The room was thick with tension. Reporters, photographers, and onlookers watched silently as the legal machinery unfolded. Tamar's lawyers presented the financial records one last time. Unauthorized transfers were confirmed. Restitution was ordered. The numbers spoke louder than arguments. There were no dramatic confessions, no shouting matches. Instead, the quiet authority of evidence delivered clarity. Tamar exhaled. Not a victory cheer, not revenge, just release. Across the aisle, Yandy wept silently. She had lost a friend, a husband's trust, and a piece of herself. Yet acceptance began to bloom amid the heartbreak. Mendeecees finally spoke, his tone low, weary, almost human. "I'm taking accountability. Not everything said about me is true, but I made mistakes. Now it's time to rebuild." The words were measured, reflective, a stark contrast to the viral storm that had preceded them. The aftermath rippled far beyond the courthouse. Tamar refocused on her music, reclaiming her voice and public image. Yandy returned to advocacy, sharing lessons on emotional and financial boundaries, emphasizing resilience and self-care. Mendeecees reportedly began therapy at Tamar's suggestion, facing the personal consequences of public scrutiny. The trio's journey demonstrated that truth and clarity rarely bring immediate peace. Sometimes they bring understanding and accountability instead. Cultural takeaways were profound. Audiences debated loyalty, trust, and the pressures of public life. Social media had amplified personal pain into a spectacle, but the resolution revealed the human cost behind viral headlines. Fans were forced to confront the realities of emotional manipulation, financial trust, and the complexities of modern relationships under the lens of fame. In the end, Tamar Braxton found strength through transparency, not vengeance. Yandy rediscovered vulnerability coupled with resilience. Mendeecees confronted his choices and the shadow fame cast over them. Their story reminded millions that behind every viral moment, every screenshot, every leaked message, there are real people, flawed, hurting, and navigating consequences. The lesson was simple but powerful. Honesty is radical. Trust is fragile, and sometimes healing means letting go, even when love lingers. Now the question is yours. Whose side do you stand on? How do you interpret the choices, the motives, and the fallout? Comment below and let's break it down. Because in stories like this, the audience isn't just watching. You're part of the conversation,